I'm Dustin Grinnell, and this is Curiously. Ever since starting this podcast in early 2023, every episode I've made has been about something. I'll read a book or review a person's achievements and develop a list of detailed questions for a guest. In a somewhat journalistic style, I then have an in-depth discussion with the guest on a topic or subject of interest. But what if I threw all that structure and preparation out the window? What if I did a show that didn't have a specific topic, that didn't involve any prep on the guest part or mine, that wasn't about big ideas or major accomplishments? A show like this might be like the iconic TV show Seinfeld, which was described in an episode as a show about nothing, because it focused on the minutiae of daily life. In 1992, Susan Orlean, a New Yorker staff writer, did something like this in her article for Esquire about an entirely unfamous 10-year-old boy named Colin Duffy. To write her article, Orlean parachuted into Colin's life and wrote a portrait titled The American Man, Age 10, about the life of a young boy who was preparing to become a man. Today I bring you Bob, an American man, age 73. Bob Smith, not his real last name, is my brother's father-in-law, who I have the pleasure of hanging out with a few times a year on holidays and at family get-togethers. Like Duffy, Bob is decidedly unfamous, but he's also hilarious and kind and goofy and quick with a comeback, and he means the world to the people in his life. And I was more than happy to sit down with him and see what he has to say. So without further ado, I give you Bob in our show about nothing. Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
So today I wanted to do something a little different on the podcast. Normally I come up with a bunch of questions and do a lot of preparation, but we were at my brother's son's first-year-old birthday party.
Correct.
That was probably a month and a half ago.
Yeah, approximately.
And you were my brother's father-in-law.
Yes.
Last time I checked.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking son-in-law, but that's right, father-in-law.
Right. And I am his brother. And we were talking about the podcast, and you came up with the show idea. You said, you know what you should do? You should do a show like Seinfeld, a show about nothing. And we talked about it, and I loved it. I loved the idea. So I thought about it, and I wanted to talk to you about nothing. And we're going to try to make that work.
Right up my alley. Love nothing.
What do you like about nothing so much?
Well, sometimes it's just your mind just goes and thinks about nothing. And eventually something pops into your head that's important to you or important to other people.
So sometimes your mind is blank.
Many times it's blank.
Would you say it's blank? Give me a percentage.
I'm retired now, so there's a lot of blankage in there. I have no schedule. I don't know what day it is.
Right. So you'd say like on a day-to-day basis, your mind is probably blank between 90 to 95% of the time?
I'd say 94.2.
Okay. That's very precise. And then when the other 5% is not blank, what are you thinking about normally?
Mostly my family, my children, my grandchildren. I'm at a point in my life where I can sit back and spend time with them, especially the little ones. I have 5 grandchildren. The oldest is 7, and the youngest is just a year old. I had a great time yesterday with 2 of them. So that really is what I'm all about now, is just spending time with them and helping them out, babysitting if they need that. I do miss some of the physical activities. I used to play a lot of golf. Where I live, there's many activities. It's a 55-plus community. So if that 5% I'm blank, I can just go up to the clubhouse and play cards, pickleball. There's a gym, there's a pool, there's a hot tub, many things. I'm actually started recently a drawing class, which really was nothing I would be thinking about doing if I didn't live where I live.
And what is it about family? Why is this so important to you?
Oh, boy. I had a great experience growing up, great parents.
Was that in Massachusetts?
It was in Massachusetts, yes, from the city, from the second of 5. And we just had a good time. It was, we love each other. And now that I have my own, it's like I learned a lot from my parents and want to have that trickle down to my kids. I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, like I said. I didn't really ever think about, some people, I want to get married someday and settle down, have a family. It just, all of a sudden, I met the right person, and it worked out fine.
What did you said you want things to trickle down to your kids and to your grandchildren. What lessons? What did you learn that you like to pass down?
Honesty, hardworking, how to treat other people. Basically, I want them to be happy and find what really makes them happy. And they're all very different from each other. I'm very happy with the spouses that they married. I love all of them. They're perfect for each. I don't have to worry about that as a dad. That must be difficult for a mom or a dad to have to worry about a spouse of their child, and there's issues there, whether you should get involved or not get involved, or you're trying to tell them something that bothers you about that. I don't have to worry about that. So
they chose winners. They chose people you don't have to worry about.
They did. I recall asking one of my daughters, I kid him all the time, but anyhow, when he was leaving, take care of my baby because he's the youngest. And his response was always. It was just perfect,
And when you are with like family members, like say when we were at my brother's, his son's 1-year-old birthday party,
okay.
You look like a happy guy. What is it about that makes you happy?
Well, it's family. When I see everybody around enjoying each other's company, it's funny. It's not really funny, but most families get together when there's a celebration or a funeral or a death in the family, which is more difficult. So, yeah, I was happy that day. Love to see my grandchildren playing together, seeing my children there and their spouses together, things like that. I mean, even seeing you. I don't see you that often. You live not very close to where I live, and yeah, I was happy. Just the whole experience. I mean, the birthdays are anyhow, and the first birthday is usually especially important.
Yeah. You said, it's an interesting word, happy, right? What is happy? What is the definition of happy? Does it mean experiencing joy? Does it mean like having meaning? Does it mean pleasure? Does it mean fulfillment or satisfaction? You want your kids and grandkids, probably everybody around you, friends and family, to be happy. What does it mean to be happy?
Enjoying your life, getting up every day and having some kind of a reason for do whatever you're doing. Any life is going to have hills and valleys. And as long as they understand when they are down that they can change that. How do I express that to them? It's, ever since I was a little kid, there's something inside me that it's just, I can always go to, and it makes me feel good. And I'm not even sure how to explain that. It's just part of your soul. And I'm just hoping that my kids have that same experience. Look at the world today. It's easy just to get depressed. And you got to look at something that will make you happy, make you just forget about that and move on.
The thing you accessed, what is it? Is it a memory? Is it a reminder that this too shall pass? Is it, you kind of like pointed to your gut a little bit. You kind of said, there's something in there. There's something in my gut that it's like a touchstone or something. What is that?
That's a good question. I've asked myself that at times. And there are times it's harder, depending what's going on in my life, it's harder to find it, but I know it's there. And it just happens. I think it's just focusing on it. And meditation sometimes is good, is just to relax. And, I have this thing inside me where if things are going wrong or something, I have these 2 words that I state, trust Jesus. And the reason I use those 2 words is when I was working in Boston, I had a very stressful job, difficult job. Things would get to me and others, and there was a lot of disagreements and so on and so forth. And I remember leaving the office, and didn't even tell anybody. It was around lunchtime, so probably nobody really missed me that much. But I went over to the Commons. Park Street Station is there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And I was just sitting there and kind of depressed. And, oh, man, am I doing the right thing here at work? I had all this agreement with this person and disagreement with another person. Because we had all these team meetings, and there was a lot of confrontation. And I had my head down, and then I lifted it up, and I looked at this Park Street Station where there's usually some graffiti on it. Well, the only 2 words that were there with the 2 words, trust Jesus. And it's like, what? Where'd that come from? So sometimes I reflect on that. And if I'm having a tough day or time, or you go to bed at night and have a lot of things going on in your life, I just use those 2 words and repeat it over and over again and just try to relax.
And it's a medicine. It's consoling. And it's consoling for what reason? Is that there's things are going to sort of, no matter how bad they are, things are going to sort of figure themselves out, that maybe everything happens for a reason, that there are helping hands. Like, why trust him? Why put your trust in him?
Because I believe there's an afterlife, and I think that it's just like prayer. It's basically it's
So
prayer.
it's a mantra, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years ago I took transcendental meditation in Cambridge. I was about 18, 19 years old, and went through that process. And they give you a mantra, a word that's supposed to be kind of related to you. And I found out years ago it didn't really matter, So I used that for a while and did some transcendental meditation, but I've been away from it for years, and now it's I think it's something I like to go back to and try to help me relax, because I'm kind of a high metabolism person, and sometimes I need something for me to calm me down and just let things flow.
And you're a religious man?
Well, I am. I'm not as much as probably my family. Grew up a very strict Catholic upbringing, and I've kind of gotten away from that. I mean, I'm not one that goes to church every Sunday, but lately it's something, maybe because I'm getting older, I don't know, but it's hard to define that as far as, are you a religious person? What does that mean?
You subscribe to, Christianity, but do you think you sound like there's an afterlife in your interpretation?
I hope so.
Because you don't want the lights just to go out. You want to be heading off somewhere. Where is that to you?
I've got the answer to that. I don't think anybody really does. I think it's like there's a contract that you sign, not physically, that you never
can't tell anybody.
No.
Yeah.
I just hope that creator has a sense of humor. If not, I'm screwed.
You'll start a lot of trouble up there, I think.
Yeah.
Just all the jokes,
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But good trouble.
I'm a troublemaker, like Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
Instigator.
Yeah, just always ribbing people.
Yeah, it's like I am and I'm not. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah,
either,
that's
sometimes I may go too far.
Right.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I speak before I even think.
Yeah, I would say you're kind-hearted. You're jolly, but not mean-spirited. Yeah, and none of your jokes or sarcasm is mean-spirited.
No.
We have a good time at family get-togethers and things. You were talking about work, being in the office, dealing with like politics and conflict and disagreement.
Right.
What'd you do for work?
Oof. Where do I start?
You've had a lot of jobs, right?
I have.
Just rattle off like some of them, just the names.
Okay.
So, erotic dancer.
Yeah, that didn't go very well. Didn't last too long.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Let me tell you, I spent 34 years working for the federal government. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I had many jobs also, but of the 34, I worked at IRS. I worked at Food Nutrition Services, was an agency of the Department of Agriculture. I worked for the Office for Civil Rights under the U.S. Department of Education as an investigator. Prior to that, I joined VISTA for a year down in North Carolina. That's Volunteers in Service to America. That's similar to the Peace Corps, but you're here in this country. Been a bartender. I worked at UPS. I can go on and on. My last job, actually, after I retired from the federal government, I worked for this company called Work Opportunities Unlimited. And basically, I'm a career resource specialist. We're getting contracts from Mass Rehab, Commission for the Blind, DYS, and I was basically trying to assist individuals with disabilities find jobs. And so basically you would, once you have a new client, sit down with them and trying to find out what kind of things they like to do, help them with their resume, conduct a mock interview, prepare them for work, and then start to apply for jobs. And once they get a job, then you become their job coach. Because they might need assistance on the job. You don't do the job for them, but you're there to kind of give them support. And I felt so good helping some of these people out one-on-one versus dealing with the red tape of the government, because of my government jobs were related to social service also.
Yeah, you weren't doing as much paperwork. It was face-to-face, and you got to talk with them and coach them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And see the results probably, too. I'm sure you placed a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. And what was cool about it, I was the older guy. I had been retired and was doing this part-time, and I'm working with a team of 3 or 4 on the South Shore. And then because we were making all these placements, I worked there for 5 years. When I left, we had about 10 that were part of our team. which was great. And they kind of looked up to me because I'm the older guy. Some of them were intimidated going to a store and talking to the manager and that kind of thing. And I felt very comfortable with it. Plus, I wasn't there for the money. The money wasn't so great, but I didn't need that at that time. Now I can do the things I really want to do.
Yeah.
Because there was periods of time probably in my government career that, I was really to make sure I can support my family. Some of the things were great to do and other things aren't. But now I can just quit this job and do something else if I felt like it.
So you still take jobs?
I do,
and you do it for the enjoyment of it rather than the need to support a family. Yeah.
That's what's fun about it. I mean, when we moved to the Cape, I drove a van for this particular facility that housed people with dementia and Alzheimer's and take them to the medical appointments. And then once a week, I'd take the van out and we'd fill the van up and we'd just drive around to the beaches and put songs on and things of that nature. So, again, it was just kind of fun. It was part-time, a couple of days a week.
What did you like about that job?
I like the feeling of putting a smile on people's faces, especially those who are really kind of losing it. They, if you really got to be able to talk to them and find out what their life was like, which was amazing. You learn a lot, I think, from people that have had a lot of different experiences. Yeah, that's what it was all about.
How did you put a smile on their face? Was it just basically being attuned to someone and actually showing an interest in their life, or was it jokes, or was it?
I think it was a little bit of both. There was sometimes they would just make a comment, and I would come back. I'm trying to think of specifics now, but it's because it's been a few years. But I don't know. Just putting music on. Music was great. They start singing in the van, and some of them would, and some of them were still not there yet. But you deal with what you have, yeah, it just made me feel good to do that kind of thing for these people that were struggling because, they're at the end of their life, as far as that goes. And it also was during the COVID, which was difficult because, when we drove around in the van, they weren't allowed to get out of the van and they all have masks on. And that was difficult for them because I think, especially on beautiful days, and then they can look out the window and that's basically it. But it was better them sitting in their room for 10, 12, 15 hours.
I'm sure they look forward to that.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like caring for people?
Yeah.
What is it about, those two jobs you mentioned, it was sort of helping people with disabilities find work and get placed, and the driving the van, you're caring for people, you're kind of doing things that are making a difference in people's lives. Like what is it about just being that guy who's holding someone's hand and just like helping them?
I don't know. It's kind of like, it's just something that makes me feel good. For example, you get a job for a person who's struggling, has disability, let's say, and then they get a job. I get them a job in, for example, in a supermarket, just bagging the groceries. They're out there every day versus, there was a period of time when they weren't even allowed to be out there.
They're useful now.
When I go to the grocery store now and I see a bagger sometimes, sometimes I'll have a conversation, and sometimes their response might be off the wall or maybe not, but at least they're there and happy in what they're doing. And it makes me happy.
Yeah. Where do you get this spirit? You're just like a good guy.
I don't know about that. Sometimes I have, situations where maybe I'm not the best, but...
Yeah, we're all human. We say dumb shit.
You're giving me too many pats on the back here.
Yeah, you're right.
I struggle with that.
Let the record show that Bob is a real asshole.
There you go.
I don't know. I mean, you turn on the TV, watch the news, it's just Machiavellian behavior. And watch shows like Suits and Breaking Bad. It's all about anti-heroes and people screwing each other over, and modern day capitalism. People don't give a shit about each other. And, it's self-interested behavior. It's, you're not self-focused. Where the hell does that come from? How do you cultivate it?
I don't know. Maybe it's just how I grew up, how my parents,
Values? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. And I'm not the only one. I think a lot of people deep down like to help others. We're all human beings. We've got this common thread. I don't understand sometimes these battles over whether it's politics or, I understand it, but it's like, at some point, we're all here on this planet we're all the same for some way. You can find that common thread. mean, it really depends on where you were born, what country. It changes in how you feel about things depending on how you grow up. And that's, I don't know, it's always been that way. I think a lot of my family members are the same way.
Do you have a sense that there's just, like a breakdown in civility, like in common decency, and we have more in common than we think? And to what degree just sitting down and seeing each other face to face cure a lot of problems, I feel?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people really understand each other because they don't take the time to have conversations and really get to know people. And they judge people soon, before they've even had an opportunity to talk with them. And I've done that in my past too. I've made those kinds of mistakes.
Yeah. So now you just sort of pump the brakes, you don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. Yeah.
When we were emailing each other, there was a quote at the PS area of your
success is knowing that one life lives.
Breathe a little easier
because
of you. That meant so much to you. You put it in your email. Like why does that? Yeah.
It's funny you said that. When I was working in an office, many times I would add that to the end of an email, depending on what it was, who the person is.
Oh, so you sort of customize, you put it in, take it out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's an Emily Dickinson quote. It's not something I made up. But depending on what the situation was, threw that in there. And what's funny is one of my daughters has a tattoo of that same statement on her arm. And I can't remember whether she even knew that I put that in my emails or just came up with it on her own because it's kind of a cool thing. So I feel good about that we have something there in common is how we look at things.
It's an interesting way of putting it, isn't it? It's like you're saying success. Your definition of success is making someone breathe a little easier.
Yeah.
What makes you feel successful when you do that?
You help somebody else out. The word success can mean a lot of different things to different people. Some people it's making a lot of money and they've, accomplished something and they feel good about that, which is fine. And other people might think success is, winning a tournament or set a goal and then they were successful in meeting that goal. My statement there is more of a general statement in a way that there's more to success than just that. It doesn't have to apply to everyone, but if you look at generally speaking, it would make you feel better and successful if you just made somebody else's life better.
Do you have any other quotes you live by? Any other tattoos on your kids?
Oh, boy. I have a tattoo, but it's all my kids.
Oh, those are your kids' names on your left arm. Yeah.
That's my coat of arms for my family name.
Yeah.
And then these are actual signatures of my wife and my 3 children.
They wrote it down and then
they actually wrote it down.
Okay.
They were, I didn't get this tattoo until I was 60 years old. And I went with my daughter who has a couple of tattoos and held my hand. No, not really. But, she sat with me. And I wanted to put something out there that meant something to me. So those are actual signatures. And then when I started having grandchildren, this is all in cursive, which they'll never know what cursive is because they're young ones.
Yeah,
but
that's a dead language.
The signatures were done by their parents. So there's the 5 there. And they're all done by the same tattoo artist. The 3 different ones.
Because
I moved around, So I don't know if we get any more where I'm going to go with this. But we might be done.
We'll go right to your hand eventually.
Yeah, why not? We'll start over here.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that the only tattoo you have?
It is.
Yeah. Why 60? Why'd you wait six decades before you got a tattoo?
I didn't really wait. It wasn't something I was, I got to have a tattoo someday. I retired at 60, at least with the federal government before I went back and took all these little part-time jobs. So, I just was thinking about doing something and said, okay, and I didn't know it was going to go down all down my arm at the time. It just started here, which is fine.
Is there something in all your jobs, is there something common in between them, or are they kind of a little bit different? I guess what I'm trying, did you have like a guiding focus, like I'm going to stay in this industry or sector or work function, or did you just kind of bounce?
It's funny. I didn't really, prior to college, after high school, what do I want to do? And I had filled out an application to Vista, and thinking that might be something to do and, do some traveling, a little bit more about myself.
Vista is
Volunteers in Service to America. Yeah, it's like the Peace Corps, but it's in this country.
Got it.
1 year. It's really a poverty. It's poverty-stricken, where you're helping out people that are struggling, and the projects are varied. So I filled that out and didn't go into Vista. I went to college. And after 4 years of a business major, I come back. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. That application I filled out for Vista was still in the top drawer of my desk. Pulled it out and decided, let me try this out. And that's what I did for a year. And when I came back home, I went from a business major to a sociology major. So to try to answer your question, I was all over the place. And then I worked at a halfway house in Cambridge for a year with troubled youth, because it was kind of similar to what I did in Vista. I worked in a prison system down there with troubled youth, but they were actually in prison. And some of these youths that I was helping out there, because the prison I worked in was an 18 to 21-year-old prison, minimum security. Some of them, if you lived up here, instead of being, in prison, you'd be in the halfway house. So I dealt with these kids, 16 to 20, at a halfway house in Cambridge. These kids had been to every program that existed to help them out, DYS, so on and so forth. And this was like their last chance. So these kids were very troubled. So here I am working business major. Now I'm a sociology major. And I started to work for the federal government. And the first federal government job I had was with IRS, which I hated. I was a contact rep, which means if you called the IRS in Boston, the JFK building, you get someone like me to answer your questions.
They pick up, yeah.
And some of these people were already irate when they came on the phone, because they've been waiting, and it was just one call after another, blah, 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 blah.
So you're just on the receiving end of
end. They gave me 5 weeks of tax law. So on and so forth. Did that for one tax season, and then you kind of like laid off because the tax season's over. That's when it's the busiest. Yeah. And that's when I started to apply for other federal jobs. And the next job I had, I worked there for 10 years as a quality control specialist, where I was basically making sure food stamp recipients receiving the correct allotment of food stamps. Food and Nutrition Service is an agency of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And you'd say, well, what's that got to do with food stamps? Well, believe it or not, 50% of the funds that pay for food stamps, child nutrition programs, is from the federal government. And anytime the federal government is giving out money, they want it to be monitored. So that was kind of what my job was. I was on the road throughout New England like 50% of the time. I would leave on a Monday, come back on a Friday, probably 2 weeks out of a month. And I would visit food stamp recipients' homes, sit down with them, discuss their criteria for food stamps, income, expenses, things of that nature, and then have to go to these places and confirm that to make sure they were getting enough food stamps or too much food stamps. So I did that for 10 years, and I loved the job. I was on the road all the time. I was single. I went to places that I would never even think of, because most of the time you're going into these areas that have low income, poverty, things of that nature. And then after 10 years, I was about as far as I could go in the grade level there. And I was married at the time and needed to increase my income. And that's when I transferred to the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights as an investigator, and was there for the next 22 years.
So Vista, that was a positive experience for you. It
really was.
What about that? Because you may not think it would be, given what you did and where you were working.
Right. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Here I am growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, New England, kind of in the majority as far as, religion, race, here we go. And now I'm living in the South. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. First, I went to Atlanta for training for 2 weeks, where it was a lot different from what I'm used to. I'm even just my Boston accent.
So a fish out of water.
Oh, yeah.
So you were an outsider maybe for the first time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. That's how I felt. It's like,
that can be disorienting.
Yeah. You have these conversations, and they have that deep Southern drawl. I'm from Boston. Right away, they know where I'm from and things of that nature. So, yeah, I'm not in the majority anymore, which is fine. The race factor, growing up here in Boston, wasn't exposed to a lot of persons of color. And that was a great experience, because there was other Vistas that went as a team. There was 10 of us that went down there for one project and one goal. And the apartment complex that we lived in, we always had have roommates and things of that nature because we got a very small stipend. I think it was like $600 a month because you're supposed to be living at a poverty level also because you're helping people that, are in that situation. But the entire complex started out all white, and in 6 months it went another direction and it was all black. So we had that kind of experience of seeing what it was like. And everywhere you went to participate in any kind of event, it was so different for me to see persons of color that I didn't really was exposed to here. And also could see, how they were treated also, which was very different from up here. I mean, I remember going out to lunch with some of the guys. I think it was actually breakfast, some of my roommates and stuff, and we're sitting there at a grill or restaurant, and the waitress came over and started to wait on us, but there was a table next to us of 4, persons, African Americans, and they were just sitting there.
This is in Boston?
This was down south.
Oh, this, okay. Yeah.
And so I mentioned why we were here first. But, it's almost like you could see how they were treated differently than persons of...
You had seen something in contrast to that where you're from?
No, well, not really. I hadn't really been exposed to that. Yeah. No. Okay. So that experience, it was good for me. We were living in the same country, and I just seen differences in people that I didn't really see when I lived here in Boston.
And you said it was one of the best working experiences of your life.
Well, yeah, it was good that I was exposed to a different part of the country. First time really kind of out on my own a little bit.
You were what age?
I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah, 1973, 1974.
So you're out on your own, yeah.
Out on my own. The work was interesting. There was good days and bad days, like anything. You're working with a lot of trust with inmates. We became like community organizers and counselors. They needed to get their trust so that we could do things that would help them. Because, for example, one thing that I was involved with was helping them get a home plan and a job plan when they were released.
Okay, so they're incarcerated, you're meeting with them,
Right.
and you're working on like a post-get-out plan.
Exactly, because the prison
right.
I worked in were 18 to 21-year-olds.
Okay.
It was a pre-release center in a way. So they're going to be released. Their sentences were anywhere from 30 days to 2 years. It could be breaking, entering, possession of drugs, distribution of drugs, things of that nature. Many of them were misdemeanors versus felonies. So it's trying to get them back on the right track when they get out of, when they're going to be released soon. What are you going to do? What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm. Similar to your other job later on in life where you're working with people with disabilities. You're
Right.
Sort of a career guidance counselor or coach. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's something of a thread there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what about that was like a satisfying work experience? The job itself, like, I guess, lining up work for people who are getting out of prison, you liked that?
I did. It was all about making sure, if you know that prison inmates are going to be coming out soon, I want to make sure that they've learned something. Rehabilitation is the wrong kind of word, I believe, but, these are young kids. And you hope that they'd straighten their life out a little bit by helping them with a home plan or a job plan, which was disappointing for me. What difficult was I would go visit these inmates' families. Most of the time they were just single mothers. And believe it or not, some of the mothers would tell me, keep my son there. He's getting 3 meals a day, a roof over his head. So this was a kind of a shock to me because I didn't grow up in that kind of a situation. So I started to understand that, I was lucky to have what I had that they didn't have. Then I'd write up a report, and these inmates knew when I was going out to visit their family. And when I come back, they want to know how it all went, blah, 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 blah. And, I just kind of didn't tell them exactly what their mother told me because, that's not what they wanted to hear. But
What did they want to hear?
they want to hear that, I got a place to go. They want to just get out of prison. Home plan, job plan. And sometimes the jobs were like not anything they were really interested in doing.
But they just want out.
Yeah. They've had it. And that's what concerned me too, is concerned anybody, is that they just can be back on the streets selling drugs, so on and so forth. So we didn't have follow-up after that. Once they're released, it wasn't my job to find out what are they doing now and where are they going and did they really stick with this job? Where are they living?
Do they come back? Yeah.
It's possibility, yeah. We were only there 1 year in our project, so sometimes you never found out anything else about them. I think it was up to the Department of Corrections to kind of keep an eye on that. Working with Department of Corrections was very difficult too because They don't even trust us. We're there in a project. They've opened their places up to us to do what we want to do. But sometimes they would just take advantage of us and do things that their guards didn't want to do.
How so?
For example, these inmates would work their way up to get a voucher to buy clothes. And they could go out with a guard to a store and they could buy whatever they could, clothes with their voucher. Well, it's one of the things that guards didn't want to do. So they would have one of us go out.
They don't want to go out shopping.
They don't want to do that. No.
And can they wear the clothes in the prison? Why would they go out?
No.
So it was for after.
Yes, because they're going to be released soon.
Okay.
Yeah, there was all this criteria to get to that point. And to tell you the truth, I can't recall exactly, they had a good behavior and things of that nature.
So technically, like a guard was supposed to accompany them, but they didn't want to do that. So they pawned it off to you?
Yeah, we started to find out during that year, at least maybe after 6 months or so, we were doing the kind of the dirty work for them, in a way.
It's social work.
Yeah.
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 It's funny because a couple months ago when we talked about the idea of just doing a episode together, you threw out the idea that it would be a little bit like Seinfeld, right? It'd be a show about nothing.
Yeah,
and I was...
and it's kind of, this is so far, it's a little different than that as far as...
It's a show about everything.
Yeah.
But I think, what if I said it's more that, generally speaking, people don't get a chance to have someone be so inquisitive about their life. Like, I'm genuinely interested in asking you sincerely about things you did in your life, and people open up. Like, people, that's a good experience, I would think, in the sense that you're not getting a chance to boast or anything. Right. It's just you're getting a chance to talk about your life. And do you feel like we just don't have opportunities for that? And this is an interesting opportunity to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody should laugh every day if they can, to get both emotions, the extreme. Laugh until you're crying and almost on the floor.
Yeah.
And then cry with tears.
Why?
If you can do both of those, and it's a release. Don't you feel better after you?
Do you feel?
And if you didn't, I haven't cried in years. You probably cry every day. I don't.
I'll cry after this.
Yeah.
I'm crying inside. Yeah.
But don't you feel different or better? Or
you do.
It's
Something's
a release.
dislodged.
I'm exaggerating, of course, but if you can make somebody, like, one of my goals every day is to try and make somebody laugh. Just stupid things,
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store. Okay, and you're going to get some cash back, $40, let's say. And they always usually ask, how would you like that? 10s, 20s. I say, how about pennies? So I get a laugh sometimes, but you don't know. And the laugh is good because you can work with that and they get it. But sometimes they stop for a second and they're looking around the cash register. And maybe they're not having a good day, too, so you have to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. So laughter's medicine, the whole chestnut. Yeah, there's a book I like, this guy called Norman Cousins. He used to be, it's like maybe like in the 80s or 70s, he was this kind of high-powered editor of like a newspaper or something. He got struck by a debilitating chronic illness. Uh-oh. It was called ankylosing spondylitis.
It makes me cry now.
Yeah, buckle up. So this guy's spine kind of started to liquefy. And it's a terrible, incurable disease. And And the doctors had no answers for him for the most part. It's managing symptoms, and it's degenerative, and you're going to get worse, and it's going to be a short life and all that. And so he found a doctor who would be willing to do alternative treatments. So not like, laying of hands or ayahuasca or something like that. But one of them was high doses of vitamin C and some other things. But one of his like treatments, quote unquote treatments, was watching funny films, and he would watch them all the time. He would go on these like binges of watching funny films. And long story short, he cured himself of his disease. He wrote a book called The Anatomy of an Illness. Mm-hmm. And so he cured this basically an autoimmune disease through various alternative therapies, one of which is like belief and hope, and finding a doctor who he believed in. There was like a strong alliance between patient and clinician. That's important. But he also believes strongly in funny movies, as laughter is medicine, like the movie Patch Adams, making your patients laugh. It changes your chemistry and makes you feel good and takes your mind off the illness. And I always think of that when someone says laughter is medicine. You're kind of giving them a little dose.
Yeah. Everybody needs that, I think. Whether you have a disease or whatever, I think that people don't have enough laughter and including myself. And I love it when you see somebody laugh that because of something you did or somebody else did. The best laughter, I think, is like the Seinfeld shows where it's not planned in advance. Like, I'm not a good joke teller, but if you're having conversations and you just come up with some quick little funny response to something. And again, it depends on who you're with and who the person is, because not everybody's going to might take it seriously or not, or they don't get the sarcasm or not, which is fine. So I think a lot of times people adapt how they have conversations with people depending on who it is. Yeah. Which to me makes sense.
I was one of the reasons why I like improv shows because it's spontaneous. They're just saying what comes to them in the moment. And generally that's the most funniest thing. And it's like part of what I'm laughing at least is, wow, you just came up with that on the spot? Like, I'm kind of blown away. That's amazing. Yeah. So there's real fun and like just improving with someone. And that's the whole point of this show. There's nothing, it's unstructured.
Right. Which is probably
it's
different.
It's a major risk.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't really know each other that well.
Exactly right.
We've probably, we've been to family gatherings, a half a dozen times, but there's other people there. We don't have really any deep conversations, or maybe no conversation. Or
you're usually like glaring at me from the corner. And,
who's that guy?
He tried to punch me one time, but that's okay.
Missed. Well, I was trying
because I dodged it.
I was trying to figure out, like, okay, so my daughter's husband is your brother.
Right.
So what do I call you?
Like it's your son-in-law's brother.
Son-in-law's brother. Yeah, but that's a long. Couldn't you have a simpler word for that?
Just call me awesome dude.
Yeah, I was thinking that one too.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. You can tattoo that on your arm.
See?
Yeah. I've done 8 of these episodes. I started this in February of 2023. One could say I'm doing it for myself in a way too, because I have a tendency to prepare, over-prepare, get wound pretty tight, Right. The last guy read his book twice, had 30 questions for him, only hit like 15 or 20 or whatever. It's really regimented and kind of like high-strung about it. But I'm sort of just letting go right here with this episode. There's something interesting about that.
You feel comfortable about doing it this way? Like, would you do this again? Or maybe it's too early to even tell?
Yeah, I would. I almost feel like it depends, maybe, on the guest.
I see.
I guess if you're talking about someone about their book or their movie or whatever, you probably want to like read it and watch their thing and come up with things. But there's something that's just a little bit more open and fluid and something nice about that.
Yeah, most people that you interview or have on podcasts, they're promoting something.
Yeah.
What's that band, the Q-Tip band?
Right. They would like to get more downloads or listeners or purchases. Yeah.
Right. Which is fine. That's why I was kind of surprised when, you picked up on this and like, hey, what are we going to talk about? And your response was nothing.
Exactly.
Which is, what does that mean?
Well,
we could sit here and not say anything and that's whatever, but.
That would be saying something, wouldn't it? Saying nothing is saying something.
Yeah. Let's try it for a couple of hours.
Dear audio editor, please delete the next 3 minutes.
There you go.
Well, I really like these journalists who write long-form magazine-styled articles, feature articles. One writer I like is Susan Orlean. She's a New Yorker writer, and she wrote this piece which was called American Male Aged 11 or 13 or something like that. And her editors wanted to put her on some like high profile topic, like follow like a future president around or something, or interview like Bruce Springsteen or something like that. But she actually said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to interview like a 10-year-old, like some adolescent. I just want to dig into his life and see what it's all about. And I really took a lot of inspiration from that. Because I think she reached out to her network and said, hey, does anyone have like an adolescent that I can interview and spend time with and write an article about? And someone said yes. And yeah, she hung out with this young boy and played video games with him and went to school with him and asked him about his life and what it's like to be, a boy at that time and how he felt about becoming a man at some point. And it's like that the boy was like unfamous. He's just a kid. He's ordinary. And yet the article was almost profound. Like it was about things that were common to us all. It wasn't Bruce Springsteen. And in this conversation, we've already talked about life and work and religion and the power of like laughing every day. And I knew that was going to happen. So we can stop now. This is over. I don't know. So what do you think about that? You know, you talk about nothing. You're really just talking about living.
Right. That's what life is all about in a way, I guess, is just living. But, people have different ideas on what that means. And I guess for me, it's just, every day's different. You get up every day, at least as I get older, it's like, oh, geez, I'm in pain here or whatever, and what do I want to do? But you got to make the most of every day. That's the way I look at it, is you're only here for a short period of time. Are you making a difference? Are you not making a difference? It doesn't really matter. It depends on the person. I think everybody has a different idea of why they're here, what they're going to do for the day. Some people are more motivated than others, depending on what it is. And again, I get back to where I'm at now is just more, it's all about my little ones and the grandchildren and my children. And I get motivated when I get all excited. And I'm like, yesterday I went up and spent some time with the two boys, and they're very different from each other. But I felt so great when I was there and when I was leaving. Now, not everybody has that experience, and that's fine too. But yeah, I think you got to find something that really makes you happy every day. Not that you have to be happy 24 hours a day. Nobody is in this kind of world. But I'm learning as I get older, socializing more with people, because I'm not good at keeping friends for long periods of time. Mostly it's my fault. I like to be independent, and I don't follow up with people once I've met them and we've spent some time together. But as I get older, like even yesterday, I went up to the clubhouse to get a flu shot, and there was a few people over there. Only knew one person. We started having this conversation, and it's like, wow, I just felt kind of nice to have some human contact, not physical contact, emotional contact. And, it's funny, when I was younger, believe it or not, I was kind of a shy kid. And as I grew up and got older and more of an adult, now I can't keep my mouth shut, It's almost trying to make that contact with people for whatever reason. And I think that's just how I am today, I guess. Will that continue? I don't know. And sometimes I end up talking too much and saying the wrong thing, like upsetting somebody or maybe making them happy. I rather just be myself, and then they can take or leave it, kind of. And I guess you learn that as you get older, you just don't give a crap sometimes and just say, hey, let us do whatever I want.
What's it like to get older? Like, what, I get a sense that like I'm 40, just turned 40. You're 73, right?
I am.
You've been on the planet longer, 33 years more than me. I feel like you deserve a certain amount of respect. Like you avoided accidents, you lived, you didn't die.
Right.
There's a certain amount.
I'm still here, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And you lived 100. The kind of approach to life that you have.
I don't know if I will live that long. 100.
Yeah. I give it like 74, 75.
Yeah, another year. The way I look at my life is I'm a big golfer. I'm on the back nine of my life. I'm probably,
so that's the metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm on about the 14th hole, which is, there's only 18 holes, in a golf course.
Last time I checked, yeah.
The good thing is it's all backed up on the 15th tee. That forced them, they hit the balls in the water and in the woods. So it's slowing down. Hopefully that, even though there's only 4 holes left,
shit, you could go.
It could go for a while.
Yeah, you could go have a beer on 16 and, hang out in there for a little while. So you're talking about kind of really like milking those last 4 holes.
I could let the group behind me go through us. Right. See, go ahead. We're not in any hurry,
Because at 18, I die.
Yeah, that's it. There's no 19th hole.
Right. Well, 19th hole is heaven. Or,
yes,
probably,
maybe that is equivalent to maybe having 19th hole, I guess. Yeah.
So the 19th hole is like the clubhouse.
It is. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any other metaphors for, I think sometimes about metaphors for life, right? It's climbing a mountain, building a garden, Sisyphus, take pleasure in the monotony of the rolling the boulder, just loving your destiny, even though it's not perfect. There's so many metaphors. Do you have one?
Well, no, but they look at you asked me before, what's it feel like to be 73 or older? Up here in my head, it's like you think you're not 73.
So
and you don't realize it till you start to do something. As I'm getting older, physically, sometimes it's like, oh, shoot, I can't do this.
Do you feel like 27 or something mentally? What would you say, 35?
I'm on the fourth hole.
Okay. So you feel that way, but like your mind sort of reminds you, or your body reminds you that you're not, that you're still in the 14th hole.
Yeah. For a few months, I was still in college, so doing these crazy little things. I was not a customer service rep. What do you call those people that you don't want to talk to? Telemarketer.
Right.
And I was selling alarm systems, fire alarm systems, servicing the alarm systems and things of that nature. So I didn't like doing this. It was just I needed some extra money to pay my little bills here and there. But then, I learned a lot from that, because when I got calls at home, like telemarketers, I would do the same thing. I would ask them all kinds of questions, and drive them nuts. Yeah, give me your name, and but you get nowhere. You get them to hang up, which is better than you hanging up.
But you are on the offensive. Like It gives you a sense of agency. And I do it all the time. I mess with them.
But sometimes I feel bad for them, because I did that myself, and I'm dealing with probably a young kid, it's his first job or whatever, and I just start talking about nothing, about stupid stuff, and they just want to get the sale, basically.
Right. It's nice of you to have some empathy toward them, right? Because they're just doing their job, right?
Right.
And they know it's not an enviable job, and they know they're going to talk with someone who doesn't want to talk with them, but maybe it goes back to what you said. They probably just need a joke to laugh. Because sometimes if I'm in like a mood where I get a telemarketer calls me, I may feel a little hostile, and I'll be sarcastic toward them, and then they hang up and all the rest. But sometimes if I'm in a good mood and I get that call, I'll actually just be nice.
Right.
And I think more times than not, I'm usually just nice. I'm like kind of like not interested. I appreciate it. And sometimes if I'm really in a good mood, I'll make kind of a joke, and they'll laugh, and we'll be done. We'll go our separate ways. It's probably the better way to do it.
Yeah, a lot has to do with your mood. Like, and I'm
in the
not
time
in
of
the
day.
mood for it. I don't have time. Like, even now, what am I going to say to this person? Well, who knows who it is? But it's more, I guess, troubling today. I mean, how many potential spams do you get a day? And most of them. And if something's that important, they're going to leave a message. Exactly, what I mean? So you just wait to see if there's voicemail, and if there is, then most of the time, 90% of the time, you get potential spam. That's it. I'll never hear from her again.
So what were we talking about before, like metaphor that like undergirds your golden years, this metaphor of golfing. But you also, you modified it too. You said, you can slow down those last holes.
Yeah, right.
Do you feel like the holes from like 1 to 10 just went by in a blur, or?
As you get older, things move a lot quicker than you really want them to. So I wouldn't say it's a blur, because you don't think about age in those holes 1 through 10, I guess, because you got a back 9 to get to also. But I look back on my life now, and I guess I'm at a point where, have I done everything I wanted to do? There's always something else. There's always something else. There's
What's
always
left?
something else. It's a good question, because there's days that I say, I'm fine with where I am right now. I think if I passed out tomorrow, I'd be fine. But again, I'd like to be around mostly to see some of my grandchildren grow up and see how they develop and so on and so forth. That would make me happy to be around for that. But you want to be physically able to do stuff with them, and if you get to a point in your life where you're not able to do some of the things you'd like to do, and that's going to be very discouraging and depressing too. But right now, I'm kind of good where I am. I mean, it's funny. We moved to a 55 plus community, my wife and I, which I never thought I'd be one to do that. But now I'm kind of happy that I am, because it's good and bad. You're surrounded by a lot of people your own age, so you have something in common. People are extremely nice to each other. Most people are retired now, and they're experiencing their life, and some of them are active, some of them aren't. And that's a good thing. And you become friends easy enough with some of these people. And it's different from living in a neighborhood or a community where you meet people and then you don't see them that often. I see them all the time, some more than others, depending on what activities I'm involved in. Then there's a big clubhouse and you're running into them all the time, which is kind of cool. The downside is and this has happened, we've only been there for 2 years next month, you become friends with people there and you have a connection, and then they pass away. In my part of 18 houses, we've had 3 people already pass away. Last week, a good friend of mine, he sat next to me while we played poker. Never serious, either one of us. Every time I see him at the clubhouse or at the mail center, we're getting our mail, we have something funny to say, and we just get it. We get each other. And he passed away 2 days ago. He had a seizure. He was 87 years old. He's been sick for about a month, but it was still kind of hurtful and surprise. I know he's probably in a better place now because he was probably struggling that last month, but that's what's difficult, seeing people that you meet, friends with. And then I'm getting more information from people I grew up with. One of my brothers sometimes good about, looking at the obituaries and, so-and-so passed away, maybe by someone I went to school with or whatever. So everybody has their time. When that is, who knows?
How do you manage that inevitability? Because, I was thinking that when you're describing your 55-year-old community, it sounded a little bit like college, It's like, it's this, camaraderie, you see your friends around, but that's where the commonalities stop, because you're in a different phase of life. You're in the older years, and the inevitability is we get on the stage and play our part and we go off the stage, and that's how it goes. I'm only 40, and I went to my 20th year reunion last summer, and 2 of my classmates had passed away. 2 close friends, really? Actually. And to me, in my late 30s, it was like unimaginable. Supposed to be supposed to still be around statistically. But that's not the case, like, in your community. Like, so, people will pass. Mm-hmm. And yet, when they do, you're probably never prepared for it, or are you? Or how do you manage it?
Well, some people, that they're going downhill, and it's going to happen.
Health
it might take a while. There was one gentleman in our community, poor guy, moved there shortly after him and his wife, after we moved in there. So he's only been there not even 2 years, and he was healthy when he got there, but he got cancer and lost a lot of weight, went downhill, and hardly ever was out. So you knew that he was going to go, sooner than some others, because nothing was going in his direction. His wife called me the other day when he was alive, asked me to come over because he fell out of his wheelchair and couldn't get up, and she couldn't lift him. So I went over there, and I couldn't believe he was so fragile. It was kind of like my dad. My dad died at 66 from bone cancer. And at the end, he's like 80 pounds. So we put him back in the wheelchair, and he's probably been on some pain medication. He goes, "Hey, thanks for the ride," things like that. But I knew that was when he passed away. It's still sad, but, he was in a lot of pain. It was probably, you feel that that it's better than being here in pain. But then what really is difficult when somebody really, you don't expect it, and they pass away, and as time goes on, you're hopefully able to get over it. But that's, I think, more difficult, obviously, than somebody who's been in pain or sick for a while. And when I run into all kinds of different people, some are very active and some are not. And, one guy in particular, we get together, 4 of us, to watch the Pats games together in my pod. There's 4 of us. And one poor guy, he tries his best. We take turns, I should say, at each person's house. Okay, you're going to host this week. And we're not far from each other, but 2 of us have to go over to his house if he's coming to my house and help him because he's big, he's heavy. And we've even said to each other, if he falls, we got to call the EMTs. We won't be able to pick this guy up. So to me, he's into the Pats games. He likes watching the Celtics games, and he's always very positive and stuff. But the difficult thing is when we leave and he's home by himself. How does his day go? And there's a guy I used to play poker with. Well, I still play with him here and there. He's struggling with the cane and bent over. And he's in every poker game that's up at the clubhouse. They have one almost every day. But that's what he does for enjoyment because he can't do a lot of other things. And he was telling me the other day, Bob, it's like, it's coming. I'm very lonely when I'm home. And those are the people that you start to think and worry about. And when they pass away, maybe it's sometimes not a better thing, but their life is not how it used to be. And sometimes I think of that about myself. It's like, okay, I'm 73, my mind says I'm only 27 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
you were doing push-ups in the parking lot.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, then you threw up and we
Yeah,
had to
it's a
take care of that.
messy scene out there.
Everyone has their own preparatory ritual for a podcast appearance. So
Yes, yeah. Well, this was my first one, so I didn't know what to do. I
Right.
just figured, hey, push-ups, why not?
no, I understood it was like some getting the nerves out.
Yeah.
And,
What did you do to prepare? What kind of exercise, if any?
what did I do? I was working this morning.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't preparing. You know what I was trying to do? I was actively trying not to prepare.
Yeah. You
Because you gave me some stuff to
Yeah,
read, and I
yeah.
said I'm not going to read. I want to read it.
Yeah.
I want to read it just out of respect, but I didn't because I wanted to stay committed to the purpose of the show.
Yeah. I know you're very committed to this because I had other stuff to send you, and you almost got, no, that's okay.
Well, I didn't have to send back a picture of my middle finger.
I'm going to savor that. Put it in my pocket over here.
We should make a T-shirt out of it.
There you go.
There for Thanksgiving.
But if I did that finger would be looking at you, not me.
Oh, that's a good point. I kind of screwed myself there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I take for granted mobility and health and just energy. And like the idea of being so large that I need help to get out of my chair, that I'm sort of like glued to a couch or something like that, that's devastating, to lose autonomy, to lose agency in the world, and to have to depend on friends and family to be moved around. I mean, boy, we take a lot for granted, don't we?
Yeah. You got to have like a plan B in life. I don't know. Meaning like if you get to that point or you think about it could get to that point, not people dwell on this and think about it, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
I tell my kids, like they're young, you got to, whatever it's, your job or whatever, think about a plan B just in case, because you want to just get so depressed over that plan A didn't work out. Now, what that is different for different people. And I think as you get older, you don't know what's going to fall apart. It could be up here, I'm pointing to my brain.
Right.
Who would want to be having to rely on other people just to get through a day?
Yeah. I mean, what do they say? Like, life happens when you're busy making plans. It's like you've got your plan and you know what you want to do. And then, man, just life throws you a curveball.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
It could be a financial problem, a health problem. It could be
Well, there's hills and valleys.
hills and valleys. Yeah. What's a valley you were in and how'd you get out?
Oh, jeez. So many.
A lot of valleys.
Yeah, a lot of valleys.
A lot of hills. A lot of summits too, though.
Oh, gee. I don't have that many. Been pretty good about things that have been. I don't really dwell on that, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to think of one.
That's how
I
my
try to think how
dad
to-
would say the same thing. Yeah. He's
Yes.
like, I don't know. Yeah, shit happens, but I don't sit there and think about it.
No,
Yeah.
because you just get depressed and life goes on.
But you talked about, if you feel like crying, cry. So like, you kind of have that philosophy, like let it go through you and let it release something,
Right.
let it dislodge. So you feel that way at least.
Yeah.
You don't deny bad feelings. You let them come and you let them go through.
Right. I try to find a distraction sometimes, put on some music, read a book, an activity.
Yeah.
I mentioned like golf again. That's one of those things I really enjoy doing. I feel like the environment. Grew up playing caddy as a kid, but now I'm not able to play golf as much. And so that's a valley for me to be beautiful days. And I joined a golf league where I live, but couldn't play. I played one day and then couldn't play for 3 because I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. So it's like, okay, do I continue to do this or find something else that I can do that will give me just as much enjoyment? That's what you have to
Like
do.
a plan B.
A plan B.
So would that be swimming or?
My plan B was taking this drawing class. I have no skill, I don't think, in that at all. And I've enjoyed it because I'm sitting down in a room with other people, being somewhat artistic, Other things I've done to get out of that depression, not depression, but valley is I love the beach. You'd be just walking up and down on the sand and collecting shells and taking a dip in the ocean. It's refreshing to me. No, I'm not going to sit around and dwell on, oh, poor me, Bob, blah, blah, blah. That's how I'm made up.
Yeah.
But, there's sometimes it's easier than others. Depends on the day.
Yeah. I'd like to see some of your drawings sometime. I'll buy one. How much do you think they would cost?
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
I don't think you
thousands.
could afford it.
It's your first podcast. This is my 8th, so it's not like, you're talking to anybody who's experienced.
But it's a different experience podcast for you. This isn't something where you had prepared questions and whatever.
What do you think it'll be like listening to yourself talk about yourself?
Probably won't like it.
Why? Because you don't like the sound of your voice, or you don't want to?
Everything. Maybe the sound of the voice. Maybe I don't know. I forget what I said. Everything I said was true, but it's really weird to you have a question on something that you don't have a lot of time to dwell on and think to give a decent answer. So I think sometimes maybe when I listen to it back, I'll go oh, is that me? Did I say that?
Yeah, you're just going off the cuff.
Yeah.
You're going off the cuff about things that are kind of big questions sometimes. We're talking about death and metaphors for life and stuff. Maybe we just don't get a lot of chances to actually talk like that. It seems a little strange. Like if we were at Thanksgiving and I was like, Bob, what's your metaphor for life? You'd be like, come on, man. That's true, we're just hanging out.
Yeah. And it's on a microphone, which means you have to play back. When you're just with friends or at a party and stuff, you do say things off the top of your head, which might be funny or maybe not or whatever. You're having a conversation. But it's different when you have a microphone here and there's a little more stress.
It's higher.
What am I? Yeah, exactly.
It's because you know that there's an audience. It's not just you and I. That's an illusion. There's a performative element here. When you answer the question, you're not just answering the question for me. You're answering it for, I don't know, so far a few hundred people or whatever may listen to it. That's on your consciousness.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience before? It's kind of like being in public,
But you're usually in public, you're not speaking about yourself. Like when I was working, they had Toastmasters for people who, because you need to go and make a presentation. And it was like a training. You didn't have
for public speaking.
Yes, yeah. And so you feel more comfortable. And start off with an icebreaker, or you pick a subject, or you can talk a little bit about yourself. That's probably the last time I had an experience of maybe saying something about yourself. But it's 5 minutes. This is over an hour.
75 minutes. It's like nap time after this.
Yeah.
We're going to have an espresso or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's an endurance event. Do you ever feel like you're in conversation with someone for 75 minutes, for God's sakes?
No.
You couldn't take a break. I was just on you the whole time.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm not ever going to do this again.
This is it. First, last.
I don't know. When we see each other at the next gathering, it'll be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Different.
We could play it in the background as a screensaver. Just listen, gather around everybody.
Yeah. See, you know a lot more about me, but I don't know a lot more about you. Maybe I should do a podcast. I'll be asking the questions. You
know what, man? All you have to do is go online to this place and just book a studio.
Is that how it works?
And then just come in. We'll do it and go around. Do the other thing. I'll be glad to do that.
Okay. That sounds good.
And you can prepare questions if you want, or you can do it like I did. It's your show.
I'll prepare questions, but you won't even know what the questions are.
I want you to just hit me with a sledgehammer. Ask me the hardest hitting questions you can think of.
Would you enjoy that?
I've done plenty of podcasts as a guest.
You have.
I write and publish stuff.
But you talked about your books and stuff.
That's true.
You're kind of boring, whatever.
Yeah, I hate it. I got to do it though. So it is what it is. Set it up. Let's do it. We can even bring in more people. Look, there's 4 mics here. We can bring in other people. So just think about it. Maybe we'll be co-hosts someday. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. My older brother and I were thinking about doing a podcast, probably half kiddingly, but when we lived down at the Cape, we would go out to breakfast every Wednesday, once a week. And 1 year I don't know how long I was down there for, maybe 4 years, but maybe didn't do it for 4 years. We hit about almost 40 different diners in that period of time. And it was we should put a book together, and rate these different places and maybe do a podcast. We're half kidding, but
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Or you can do just a blog post or something like that.
What?
Like a blog post. Yeah. Sort of a travel guide of some kind. Well, we are at the end of our time.
Oh.
And it's been a real pleasure. I feel like we went in with a concept that was risky. Could have been just totally boring and meandering and who knows, but we got into some stuff that was pretty interesting. And, I thank you for coming to talk. I appreciated it.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Curiously. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Bob. Stay tuned for more conversations with people I meet along the way.